Hello, this video is a request video. Somebody requested I do what I think about the God helmet. So this video is what I think about the God helmet and Michael Persinger, the guy who made the God helmet. Whoa, things slipping and sliding. Sorry it took me so long to make the video. Wasn't really in video making mode. Can you see me? So, Jesus, what is the deal? The thing can't stay still. Oh my God. Just a second here. Alright. Is it focusing? Huh. Just a second, man. Okay. So, what I think about the God helmet. God helmet is this thing where this guy, you put like electrodes on your head, and it sends a certain electromagnetic field. I didn't see this video for a while, but some kind of electromagnetic field in your brain, which induces you to have certain feelings. Or maybe it shuts out. I don't know exactly what it does, but basically, you know, our brain is a is an electronic. It has an electro field around it. I mean, but it's very, very weak. If you live a gigasecond, I don't know how long that is, maybe like 100 years or something, or 2 gigaseconds. If you live like a relatively long life, your brain produces about as much electrical energy as your whole body does in half of a second. So, but nevertheless, our brains are electric fields, just like our bodies are, and so they are very they're subject to electrical fields around them. So if you are to turn off electric field, make like a barrier between your head and the rest of the world, you're going to feel differently in your head. Or if you add extra stuff. I don't know exactly what the God helmet does. I should have watched the video before I made this. I watched it like 2 months ago. But they had this film of this young girl, this like 15-year-old girl, who put it on, and then they took it off, and she said, "Oh yeah, I felt like there was beings around me, just chilling." So, it's kind of like, I remember I smoked Salvia divinorum once, and I totally tripped out. I was in this, like, rainbow room, and, yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I couldn't see anything, but I felt like I felt like there was this one little guy just to the left of me, watching me, and I could see him for a second, then he ran off. And then I could feel like I was, even though I didn't see anything, I could feel like I was in, like, a world with, like, lots of other beings around. But, yeah, but I guess it's called the God helmet because it makes you feel like you're in a world surrounded by other beings. It lifts your awareness. And, yes, but anyway, this guy, Michael Persinger, he is a brain scientist and also like a psychic, does psychic research for the University of like Stanford or something like that. I can't remember what university. But he also was involved in maybe even government stuff, at least related to the government, remote viewing and stuff. And there was this guy called Swan who is the best at it, and I guess the first who is really good at it, at remote viewing. And they basically proved that there is an internet, that our brains connect to in the electromagnetic field of the connected, and like the internet is created of the world that our brains connect to is the electromagnetic field around the Earth, that torus electromagnetic field, and which is trillions and trillions and trillions of times larger than that of our brains, which means, and so what this guy said, he had this video that I watched called No More Secrets, Michael Persinger, No More Secrets, like an hour long, and it's him giving a speech to like a university class or something. And basically, it's him speculating that because the psychic people can pick up on information, on memories that other people have, that they're not actually tapping into their brains, but they're tapping into, well, or they are tapping into their brains, but through a field that our brains are connected to. And but people can also tap into memories in objects. So there is a field, there is basically a brain, a human brain in the world, around the world. It's like the backup hard drive of all of our brains. Which makes sense that there would be. I mean, that doesn't make sense how there would be an experience or a thought that somebody has that doesn't get backed up, you know? Because we always want to back up everything on our computers that we ever have, so naturally it would be like that in the larger world. And so, but he calculated that this field, the magnetic field around the Earth, and it's the same kind of magnetic field that's around our body, you know? It's something that can be detected and measured with the same instrument. So it's basically the same thing. It's just larger. And that it's so much larger than our individual brains that they calculated that every memory that anybody's ever had in the history of humanity and the whole world could easily fit inside of the magnetosphere. So, you know, the gigabytes is way up there in the, like, omegabytes, or whatever you want to call it. So, and as far as the proof, these experiments that they had to prove that, they're actually abound. And it's kind of funny how sometimes you have conversations with skeptics who are like, what? Just prove it. Just prove it. It's like, dude, just look around, you know? I don't have to provide you a link. Just look around. I mean, there was this TV show called America's Best Psychic that I saw a few episodes of. And those psychics knew, I mean, it was amazing what they could do. I mean, they could go into a car dealership and know exactly which trunk the person was hiding in out of hundreds of cars. They went into this big field of like 5 acres in the desert, and they went and pinpointed where the dude was being buried underneath. They went into the hotel room that Janis Joplin died, and they pretty much described what happened before they didn't even know, like, the story behind it. I mean, you go on and on and on and on. It was amazing. And, but yeah, this guy Ingo Swan was actually describing what people were looking at. Like, they would look at something and then he would describe it. And they would describe, you know, like, if I'm looking at a hurricane, or if I'm looking at, yeah, anything. And it happened over and over again. So it basically proves that there is a mind. And so this guy, Michael Persinger, what his theory is that, well, they did experiments that you have a thought in your head, or you have, you know, your thinkings and your experiences. And for 20 minutes, those memories are electrically labile, which means that your memories are just, they're controlled by just photons, just bouncing around in your head in a higher dimension, just connecting to your brain that way. And that if you were to get, like, zapped with an electrocharge in your head, you would forget that 20 minutes, and you would not ever have a chance to ever remember it, because it wasn't imprinted in your brain yet. It takes 20 minutes for memories to imprint in your brain by growing dendrites in your brain cells, by your brain cells growing little spines on the back of them representing your memories. And so this guy's theory was that, yeah, and so if you have a memory that was 20 minutes ago, if you get zapped by something, or maybe, you know, knock on your head or have a car accident. That's why people don't remember stuff. They don't remember the actual thing that happened. You know, like that guy, that bodyguard in Princess Diana's thing, he only remembers until when they left the club, but they don't remember the drive because it was 20 minutes, and you know, it has to be grown in your brain for you to be able to remember it. So anyways, you know, unless it's kind of like if you shut off your computer without going through the proper shut off procedure, then you're not going to remember what you hadn't saved before you turn the computer off, type of a thing. So anyways, this guy's theory was that while your brain is growing the dendrites on your brain cells, your brain is also backing it up on the hard drive, you know? Like if you're working on a Dreamweaver, and every time you hit Control S and you save it, it also there's a feature where it also automatically uploads to the internet. It's kind of like we have that feature in our brains, or actually built in to our minds and everything. So so it takes about 20 minutes for your memories to upload onto the magnetosphere of the Earth, which then anybody else can download. And so he had a theory about that, which, well, that's why it's called No More Secrets, his little speech. What if everybody could access every thought that anybody else ever had? Like, you know, like if we fully utilize the powers that the remote viewers have. Because some of those remote viewers could actually get into other people's heads and read their minds and stuff. And I actually have a personal story. I knew this girl when I was in Nepal, this Italian girl named Magdalena, who was a psychic girl. And she could, like, put her hand on your head, and she could tell you about your childhood. There was this one guy from Idaho. She put his hand on his head, and she described his house next to a river, and even a little swing set in the back of the river, and little occurrences with his mother and stuff. And he was like, oh my God, all that's true. She was, like, down to the detail. And she put her head on me too, and she described, like, my childhood, and not like actual events and stuff, but like how I was. Well, what she said to me was, yeah, your head is like exploding, but your heart doesn't really have much anything out of it. And yeah, you made your family uncomfortable because they always tried to put you in a box because you're freaking out, or you're like too like creative and stuff. And that's kind of true, the kind of stuff that she was saying. So anyways, yeah, so people can do that, but this guy Michael Persinger, his idea was that if everybody could do that, like if we utilize if we perfected it, and he even made a analogy. The first guy who made a camera was it was really simple technology, you know, just a little carbon filament or whatever. And then they perfected it, and it got even better, and now we can like shoot video with little tiny light cameras. Same thing with radio. A radio can, at the beginning, could only pick up like one channel, but now we can pinpoint it down, and we can have like 6 trillion different cell phones, 6 billion different cell phones with different numbers that can pinpoint and be perfect. So if we could do that with our brains, get really, really good at it due to training and just strengthening that field, then we could get to the point where we could just read everybody's minds. You know, you could just and read into the memories of everybody, and then what would that mean for the world? And he's like, so that would basically have to change the way that the whole world is set up, because everything is kind of runs off secrets these days, as far as, you know, different people making money because of secrets, and that you hold secrets so you can, you know, like the stock market or something, and insider trading and all this kind of stuff like that. Like, we'd have to switch out the way everything works. And yeah, it's interesting, and I think that we can arrive at that point where we could, I mean, maybe not totally read each other's minds that way, but a lot more to the point where it's futile to try to keep secrets, because at least on an energetic level you will be able to tell if somebody's lying or not, you know, just basically on basic just how their energy is and what they're looking like and everything. Yeah, I think it's time for us to kind of try to make that leap to try to achieve that, the whole idea of not having secrets. And because if we do that, if we all do it together, if we're all connected to the same hard drive, if all of our little personal hard drives, brain hard drives, became stronger together, it would help everybody else become stronger, because our brains are stronger, you know. It's kind of like increasing the size of the hard drive. And when you increase the size of the hard drive, if your computer's connected to the hard drive, then you can put more information on your personal computer, because you can back up more. So but in order to do that, we need to make the leap and not live in a world where there's secrets. Yeah. So, and I think the best way to do that, you know, as far as individual contributions go, is we all need to just, we should express what we believe on our little personal websites, like all the different philosophical and political ideas. Have it organized, and then have like your stance, and then have it, you know, the 20 minutes or less explanation of it, and then below it have like a whole chapter what you think about it, and then have YouTube videos explaining what you think about that stuff and about everything, you know. Upload your ideas about everything, like on YouTube. And nobody, you know, does that. You know, people don't even have their faces on YouTube or their real names and stuff. And I think when individual people do that, then it'll carry over and mean that the governments will do it too, because governments are made up of individual people, and people vote government members in. And so if everybody is like that, then people are obviously only going to vote on the members of government who do that too. And members of government don't do that. You don't know what they believe. You go to their website, you know, their campaign website, and it's nothing about what they believe. It's just stupid, really shallow stuff. You know, you can't click all of the top 20 philosophical and political viewpoints and have them explaining what they think about it. It's not. But we vote those people in, and we don't vote the people in who are straight up and explain that stuff. So it's because we are like that. So, you know, it's kind of like if you want the world to change, you have to be the change. You know, like the Michael Jackson song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror, I want him to be the change. So, yeah, because we live in a hologram, and that's actually the word that Michael Persinger used, that we live in, as far as the structure of our minds goes. A hologram is something that, it's like a fractal. Fractal and a hologram is the same thing. It's the smallest unit, has the same structure as the giant unit. It's the smallest little thing has all of the constituents that the large unit has. For example, a cell is a hologram, a human cell. It has your entire DNA. You could spit on somebody and they could know your entire genetic sequence and make a clone of you that way, you know, because every single cell has everything of the whole body. It's a hologram. So our minds are holograms too, the way that our brains work. So, oh man, what was I getting at? So basically, yeah, there's no, like wherever you are in the universe, you're always in the center of the universe. And that's actually how the physical form of the torus works. Like if you want to connect your mind to Jupiter, you would just follow the torus. It's kind of like getting on a train track, and you want to take the train to anywhere in the world. You would just switch tracks until you get there. So, but you have to follow the track. So you follow the torus out through the North Pole, or out through the little grid points, and then you get out, and then you just switch track to another torus that's bigger, and then you just go out that way. So, basically, there is no center of the universe. We're all the center of the universe. So we're all, if you want to change the world, we all change the world together. We don't, or you, a really good analogy is how businesses start and take over the world. You know, like Facebook. When Facebook was little, you know, there were lots of little Facebooks. There was Facebook, MySpace, Friendster, lots of them. But Facebook was the one that was the best, so it took over and killed those other ones, and then it grew up and got big. Same thing with kingdoms. You know, like the kingdom of the Visigoths. You know, they were the ones who were in control of Spain. But before that, it was a whole bunch of other like tribes and stuff, and you know, and they wandered there from someplace else. And it's like every single country has that. It was all a bunch of little tribes, but like one tribe wandered in, they won a few battles, and then they set up a big town, and then they got bigger and they got bigger. Next, you know, it's France. You know, the Franks, they turned into France. You know, the small Roman tribe turned into the Roman Empire, type of a thing. So. But it's because that's how the hologram works. It's anybody, and that's actually kind of a little mantra for America. Like anybody can take over the world. Anybody can. If you're the best, you just grow up from any point, which is a better system than like the ancient monarchical system of Europe, where the only people who could take over and be the best, take over the world and be the king, or if you were born into a very narrow select group of royal families, which screws everything up, because then you're totally shutting out the talent pool. You know, like who does the best? Who always gets to like the finals of the soccer, of the World Cup of football? It's Brazil, because Brazil has like, you know, 250 million people or something. They have the biggest talent pool. Why does America do so well in the World Cup every year, even though soccer's like a backwater sport? It's because we have a big talent pool. Why can't England get to the semifinals, even though they're fanatical about soccer, because their talent pool is so little? You know, you have to increase the talent pool. But anyways, that's how a healthy world works, and that's what a fractal is. That's what a hologram is. Is any point can grow up. Any point gets to follow its path of what it is, and then grow up without any blockage, without any glass ceiling. But anyways, it also puts the power in the hands of individuals. When basically we're all connected at the same level, you know. Like there's no more value in any person in reality. I mean, as far as like banks go, you know, I guess a lot of people the way that they think is your personal worth as a human being depends on how much you own, you know. And that's how it was back in the Dark Ages. You know, people had life or death decisions over their slaves, you know, over the kings, over their subjects. It was because they were like worth more as a person. And a lot of third world countries actually think like that, you know, like I'm worth more than you just because I'm richer, you know, which means that I get to like tell you how the world is and stuff, and you have to listen just because I'm richer, type of thing. But in reality, everybody dies. Everybody has the same kinds of bodies that can live the same amount of time. We can all get to the same level of fitness. We all have the same level of intelligence, pretty much. You know, we all put out the same electrical output in our bodies and brains, so we're all equal. And you know, we can all have babies with each other. So we're all humans and we're all exactly the same. That's the hologram. Yeah, so anyways, if you want to change the world, we have to do it like individually, beginning with ourselves. And so it's kind of funny, like, you know, you hear I did a video the other day on the Thrive documentary, and some of those people like David Icke are like, I like David Icke and stuff, but a lot of the stuff he says, I think it's just silly. It's going to sound really silly in a few years, because he's always talking about the Illuminati, what they did to us, and it's not like that. It's like what we all do, you know. You know, they're like, they've been planning this for hundreds of years. Like, people only live like 50 years. How can you plan something hundreds of years you only live 50 years. So yeah, we all have pretty much the same amount of input. So if we want to take, like, increase the mind's eye, or the power of the mind, the internet of the world, what do you want to call it? The magnetosphere. Let's call it the zeitgeist. That's actually a German word, which means the mind, the group mind. And yeah, if we recognize that the group mind, it actually does exist, it's an actual thing, a physical thing, then we'll take it a little bit more seriously as far as being nice and loving and trusting and only wanting to see the best, because then we would feed that field with that kind of energy and strengthen those brain dendrites within the mind of the world. Because brain scientists, they do studies and stuff, and your brain doesn't know the difference between an actual event and an imagined event. Like, if you think over and over and over and over again, that this certain person is bad or whatever, then when you see them, that your brain is going to send off that signal that they're bad, and they're going to give you, like, the adrenaline rush or whatever. But if you think, there is this Olympic weightlifter, and he was in the Olympics, and he was going to go, it was like the Olympics or the World Championships, and his, like, team decided to do just an experiment on him. And when he went to lift the weight, they told him that he was lifting the certain weight that he had already lifted before, and that he wasn't going for the gold medal. But what he was actually doing, he was lifting a weight that he had never lifted before, and he was going for the gold medal. But they didn't tell him that. So he went up and he lifted it, and he was like, "Okay, good, ready for the next one." They were like, "No, dude, that was the heaviest weight," because he thought that it was. So yeah, basically your brain doesn't know the difference. So you create little dendrites, and if it's kind of like what the mother says to their children: if you have a frown all day long, your face is going to get stuck in a frown, and you're going to get those frown marks, which you do. You get the smile marks, the frown marks and stuff. But your brain is the same way. Your brain is an organ that creates that is subject to your conscious mind, which isn't even a physical object. Like, we're walking around in shells. Our bodies are just empty shells. I mean, they're life forms and stuff in their own right, but for the most part, they're empty shells which we live inside of. We live with, but I mean, when you're skiing down the ski slope and you're with your skis, you're a really good skier. Your skis are like part of you, and they're, and also all of your creations, your physical creations, your car, your website, it's all an extension of you. It's what you imagine and you create it. But it's different from you. It's just your, like when your car breaks and dies, you can just buy another car, It's not you. It's just a shell. And that's what our bodies are. They're just these shells that we live inside of. And, like our memories aren't even physical for 20 minutes. It's an electrical thing. Our pituitary gland, when it looks up, our pineal gland, when it's in the middle of our brain, it's this little eyeball. Its point is 180 degrees straight up in the sky, and it's taking cues from our soul and from also the electromagnetic sphere, the zeitgeist, and our soul. When we die, you can see the soul leave through the top of your head. It's our brains are just the unit that we use to store memory, to tell our body what to do. All of our little our endocrine system, all of our glands getting cues from the outside world, from higher dimensions. It's not the only thing that exists. And it's kind of funny. That's one of the confusions that some people have when they start to, that's how they digest that information about brains is that, oh yeah, and that's why we have no soul. That's why there's no soul, and all we are is our brain. Because look, you can switch somebody's brain off with an electric charge, see? But then my response to that is, well, why does it take 20 minutes for the dendrites to grow in the brain, you know? Where are the memories for that 20 minutes? Oh, it's just some part of the electrical system of the brain hasn't put it there yet. No, we're living around in a... We are controlling our body, but we are not our body. We're souls. We're like ghosts sitting inside of bodies. So it's interesting to think that way. Like when you die, you're still you. It's got your same personality. When you're dreaming, it's still you. You know, you have the same sense of humor. You have the same ideas about things. You laugh, same sense of humor. So when you die, if your body gets vaporized by a laser beam, you're still you. You're still there. You just don't have your body anymore. And you're like, oh shit, where's my body? But it's still you. And then you inhabit another body. I mean, I think it's possible that you could, and that you even look the same, you know? In a past life, you may have different genetics, but you still look the same. I think that's why siblings, even though they have the same genetics, they look totally differently. Because they're different people, you know? But then you have the identical twins, but even they are different, you know? So anyways, yeah, so we can grow. We live in this big mind field, but we can grow it. We have influence over it, just the way we have influence over our brain. You know, if you think about something over and over again in your brain, then you're going to create those brain dendrites of that thought that you keep having, that you keep deciding to have. You know, happy thoughts or well, that's how you learn things. You memorize it. If you looking through the vocabulary list over and over and over again, you're basically growing dendrites in your brain, memory dendrites of learning the vocabulary, and then you learn it. So it's the same thing with the field of the whole mind's eye. If we all think about, I mean, I don't know what the techniques that the remote viewers are doing, but if we all believe in the connection of all of us, and we all focus on being real, you know, and being honest and sharing all of our true ideas about stuff, then we're going to fortify that, you know, like a bodybuilder builds his muscles or a brain builds dendrites. We're going to fortify that central knowledge about stuff and be psychically connected to each other, because we're not going to be wasting all of our energy making stuff up that's false, you know, lying, and then, because that causes extra waste, extra energy. And we're not going to be, you know, sequestering information and making all these little blockages and hermetically sealed knowledge packets that can't communicate with each other. When we bust it all open and communicate all of it, we're going to have more strength, more unit. The whole will be greater than the sum of its parts. And that's how the aliens live. If you talk to aliens and they tell you, they're like, yeah, what we believe is this and what we do is that, and, you know, because they're this big group mind. And not just, I mean, all of the aliens, you know, the ones who are human, the ones who are like quasi-human. That's how computers work, you know. The internet works that way. It all picks it up from the central motherboard, you know. You get an automatic update on Flash program, and it automatically tells your computer to upload it, you know. So yeah, I mean, but thinking about how that would be in the future is, you know, but having that idea and studying all of those psychics and actually believe it, I think that can be a reason to not be an atheist and actually believe in your soul, though, because it tells you that there's an actual world out there beyond you. I mean, all you have to do is a little bit of homework. Read books about past life experiences and people telling stories. There's so many out there. telling detailed stories of past lives of other old guys. Some little kid talking, shooting the shit with some old guy like they were buddies because he was his buddy. This kid, he died in a aircraft carrier in World War II, and then he remembered it and he met his buddies. I saw that lady on Coast to Coast. Did you know? Remember when they found Saddam Hussein in a hole, and you're like, how the fuck did he find him there? How the hell did they like get tips? And it's like, no, that doesn't make any sense that they would get tips. Who would tip him off to where Saddam Hussein is? So the people around Saddam Hussein were loyal, and the people who were loyal to him were loyal. I mean, if we could have made the nuclear bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima with 100,000 people working on that project over the course of years, and nobody knew what the fuck they were working on, don't you think Saddam Hussein could have successfully hid in a dirty little hole? Anyways, what this guy said was that, Michael Persinger said, and he even gave the name, was that they found him through remote viewing. They had a remote viewer guy know where he was, and they went and they found him that way. So, I don't know. But anyways, if you just study that and you see the data of all of these, America's best, the data is out there. You just have to look for it. It's so funny when skeptics are like, just show me the proof. I've never seen it. You've never once. Look, I will make a website where I collect all of that information, okay? But I'm not doing that now. That's not my project. I'm working on a history site. So anyways, I think that's a good reason. If you just pay attention to it, you'll see that that's how our souls work. We have souls. And then we have reincarnation. You die and you get reincarnated again in another body. And if you look in the past, I'm thinking maybe I was Peter the Great of Russia, because I listened to his story and it sounds like something that I would do. And I looked at his face and he kind of looks like me. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. We should all kind of experiment with that. But yeah. But anyways, yeah, we can strengthen. We can learn how to tap into that field if we all believe it and we all work, and we all have to be honest and true and real and sharing with each other, and then you can actually start to pick up on wider truths. If everybody starts talking about, if everybody in the world thinks that nobody gets to have free, nobody should have an opinion about anything, then you go to that place and you're actually going to feel, without even, you could close your eyes and you can actually feel the energy that everybody thinks that you're not supposed to express your mind. It's only, or else there's going to be anarchy and everybody's going to kill each other if people express it. No, we have to just let the authorities tell us what to think and what to do. But you're actually going to think that, and you might even get brainwashed. I think that's how cults work. You get one really charismatic guy who brainwashes a few people, and then you get other people in there, and they can that whole energy, it just brainwashes everybody. But it's an actual physical energy. It's like a radio wave tuning in, I mean, our brain waves are very, what is that word? Copacetic. It's like where they can influence each other, physically influence each other. Kind of like if you start strumming on a certain string in a guitar, that sister guitar in the next room, that string is going to start vibrating and singing the song. You're going to hear it from the other guitar. That's how cell phones work. You're in the same little vibration, and you can have the conversation, but you have to tap into that frequency. But our brains can do that too. Maybe we can actually telepathically communicate with each other like the X-Men do, because we only use 15% of our brain. Maybe that's what the other 85% of our brain is for. It's for telepathic communication, but we're not utilizing it because we don't believe in any of that. But you have to believe in it in order to grow those new dendrites. So, anyways, so one technique, I think one really cool technique for being able to tap in to all of the ideas that we had about stuff, I think a good way to do that is my timeline. Because, if you watch a movie and you know, it's a really well-made movie like Rome or something, and you see how the people did stuff back then, and you can actually tap into it, and you can actually understand it, and you're in there, and you feel like that's the world, and, you know, even the actors get into it. They get into the groove, and but I think, yeah, they're actually tapping into that actual mindset, that actual vibration, a physical reservoir of data. That's pretty much the same exact mechanism as a computer. You know, a computer stores energy electrically with those little silicones, and so our mind, the mind of the world, the electromagnetic field, the electric field of the world stores it in the same way. And so that's how you know, when you listen to a historian, the historian's like, yeah, and then they felt like this, and they were like this. They're like psychically tapping into it. They're being psychics. Historians are psychics. So, and yeah, anyway, I think my timeline is really good for that, because it's a map. If you can make a map of something, you can imagine what it actually looks like, and then you can be like, oh, okay, now I've got it all figured out, you know? Like if you live in Seattle and you want to know you want to know what your city's like, you know, you would look at a map of it and you would say, oh yeah, here's how far it is to here, here's how far it is to there, and then you know where to go to get there. But it's kind of like my timeline is a map of history, and but it's a complete map, and I think that's the important thing to consider, and as far as the power of my timeline, is that it's a complete map, and as far as it doesn't leave anything out. It has everything. You know, it's not just, oh yeah, here are the most important kingdoms. Here are the biggest republics. You know, here are the biggest inventors. You know, here are like the top 5 biggest battles and wars. No, it's not. It's everything. It's every single independent or quasi-independent as far kingdom that ever existed, and you know, pretty much showing the history of every single country, including the dependent kingdoms. You know, because countries sometimes only had dependent. Every single battle, every single war, every single invention, every single tribe, every single migration, every single castle. Well, at least it's on YouTube, which pretty much is every single that ever existed, but in a map that is holographic, that is fractal, that where you can access any information you want within just 1 or 2 clicks. That's how personal websites should be set up, and they're not. You need to set them up like a hologram, like a fractal, where, you know, if you wanted to find something that's 1,000th of what the page is, you could do it in 2 clicks, in 2 very easy clicks. If you look at 100 boxes, it doesn't look like 100 boxes. You can see all the boxes. It's like a little family of boxes, and that's like what a tribe is. A tribe was always 100 people. 100 people can get to know each other, and they can all be friends with each other. That's how companies are set up, as terms of 100. Once, that's how parking lots are. If you look at a parking lot, it can hold like 100 cars. You know, and when a company gets bigger than 100, they divide it up. And that's how tribes work. Once it gets bigger than a tribe, it becomes 100 people. It's like tribe 1, tribe 2. And that's how you could be with your website. You know, you see the 100 boxes, then you go, okay, it's in this box. I know that box. Click it. And then that's got well, let's see, 100 times 10. Well, then it's only got 10. But if it's got 100, that's 10,000. And then that's got 100, and then you click that box. That's 2 clicks. 1 click, 2 clicks, boom. You're in. You've just gotten into 1/10,000th of the original thing that you just looked at two clicks ago. But that's what the fractal is. You know, everything, when we set up our information on our websites, it needs to be on a grid, not on a scroll where you have to scroll down, because then you scroll it and you can't remember how big the scroll is, because the whole thing can't fit in one screen. But you can fit a grid in one screen. And, you know, so I did have YouTube videos embedded, which is stupid. I'm going to take them off embedded whenever I get around to it and just have it as a link. But then you can make it in a grid that way, because it's just the word. It's just the title of the video. Boom. And then you can gridify it. And then, or you can do, you know, or you gridify your playlists of your videos. And then you just click on the playlist, and then you've gridified your videos. So within 2 clicks, you can see all the videos of anybody has ever done, even if it's 10,000 videos. So, anyways, that's how my website is my history timeline is set up. It's like a grid, because it has 5 columns, and each column represents 100 years, but then it goes down as time goes down within that particular century in that particular country. But you can look at the grid of that country, and then you click, and then you go to the region, like South Europe. You're in Greece, and then you click in, but then you go up to click in, because it has 2 timelines. It has like the country, which goes across, which has all the different kingdoms in that country. But then on the top of it, it's the normal timeline, which goes across, and that's when you step up to the entire South Europe. But then you can go to any other unit, you know, South Asia, Northeast Asia, just by clicking it, and it superimposes. But it all connects it all, and then it moves forward in time. So it's like a map that ties it all together. But anyways, if you look at a map and tie it all together like that, you can actually see the migrations in your head, because, you know, the way that my timeline is, you mouse over everything. Every guy, you can see the whole picture. His whole portrait takes up the entire screen. You mouse over every single vassal state, colony, kingdom, or even battle, invention, castle, mosque, church, anything. You just mouse over it. It takes up the entire screen. So you can actually scroll down and see how hairstyles change throughout the century, just by going tick, 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 the picture coming up. Or even forward in time. See how hairstyles change forward in time, or throughout different parts of the world. Like in this part of the world, it's like that part, this part of the world is like that. But you watch, and then you can see patterns. Because if you boil down all of the, you know, the side information, that's kind of like what Wikipedia is. It's all the details. But if you kick out all the details, you only have the data, the raw data, the important stuff that's consistent, and make it all consistent with each other in the whole world, then you can see the patterns. That's when you can bring the light to patterns, you know. You boil away all the chaff, you look at what you're looking for. You know, it's also color-coded. So you can look at the color coding too, you know. Like, if you look at a mountain over there, and half the rocks on the mountain, half the rocks have black algae, the other half have green algae. You can actually look at a mountain, and if you just look at the black algae, the mountain looks black. Oh my God, the mountain's black. But then if you just focus on the green algae, you go, oh look, the mountain's green, the entire mountain's, it's just green. Like, you can actually do that with your mind, with your eyes. You should try it next time you climb a mountain. Same thing with my timeline, because it's all color-coded with the battles. It's like, I want to look at all the battles in the world. Okay, I'm looking for boxes that have the outline of the red dots. Okay, battles. So then you can look at the patterns of the battles and why they happen. Okay, now I'm going to look at sieges. Okay, sieges, you know, purple. Sieges. Now I'm going to look at, you know, this country, that country. You know, all of the inventions are its own color. All of the wars are a certain color, and castles and everything. But you can look at it and you can see the pattern. This country has more of this. This country has more of that. Anyways, you're looking at the map, but then you can use that to connect your mind to the to upload that information. Then you can actually start downloading that information, and you could become a super historian. And you can actually, I think you could do remote viewing with stuff that happened in the past. Like, you could actually know details about stuff that happened in the past that isn't even written in that never even got written in a history book. You could say, oh, I just had a dream last night, because I've been strengthening those dendrites in my head, that Julius Caesar, he invented he wrote a book about the Germans that nobody's ever found, and the book is about this, and he said this in the book, and if you look in this certain cave in southeastern France, which I know where the cave is, you'll be able to find that book. And then you'll go find the book and you just contribute a new book. That's how the Native Americans found cures to things. Like Black Elk Speaks, that book. Black Elk got really sick one day, or somebody when his tribe was sick and they needed a certain cure. And so he had a vision that he went into a certain brook. And if you go to this next, this river right there, you can see this one plant that looks like this. You get it up and you boil it and then you're going to fix everybody. He got connected into the zeitgeist. And the problem is that we're getting blocked away. We're blocked from the zeitgeist, from the mass consciousness, because of all the computers and stuff. This guy, Michael Persinger, said that Windows operating system, it saturates all of the different electromagnetic fields of the world. Of the brain, so that if they put a Windows computer between Ingo Swan and the guy whose mind he was reading to try to describe what the guy was looking at, Ingo Swan couldn't do it. But if they put like a DOS system or some other system between it, he could just pick up on the other brain waves and pick it up. So maybe that's why the Native Americans, they could psychically connect with each other. Was I in the shades? They could psychically connect with each other, find out which medicine that they needed to boil up, or exactly what to do with it to cure a person. That's how we know all of the the Native Americans knew how to connect the root of one plant with the vine of another and mix it together, and eat it with like ash, and then you trip out on the ayahuasca, and it's because they imagined it in their heads and they connected to that knowledge that was up there. And I think that's how magic mushrooms work. Magic mushrooms, they pop up. They can pop up within like an hour from dog shit, from nothing. But they're these little plants that grow up, and their food, they're growing up and they're collecting all of the zeitgeist, all of the information from the electromagnetic force field around the earth, all of our thoughts. It's growing up on all thoughts. So you eat it, and then it goes and it tells your brain what the world brain says, and then you can become empathetically and telepathically connected to everybody else in the whole world because of the mushrooms. And I think that's how people actually learned how to invent new things. It was probably because some caveman ate a bunch of mushrooms, and he's like, his brain got connected, got uploaded to the world, to the mindset of from an ancient civilization 100,000 years ago that knew how to make, that knew how to farm. And then so he had a dream about farming that night, and he wakes up and he's like, oh, we got to do this, and they did it. We're a lot more connected psychically to each other than we realize we are. And that's kind of what mushrooms do. You eat mushrooms and you can actually, you look around and it's almost like you can see the radio waves flying through the sky, and you can hear the buzz of the sun coming through, because everything is actually, it's a physical thing. You push water at you and you can feel the ripples of the waves of the water hit you, but that's thick and that's real and that's physical. But you can't feel you can't see ghosts or feel or hear the radio waves of the sun, but you can become more attuned to that when you're on psychedelics. So so it's real. It just it kind of brings you into that world that already existed, but it brings you in, and then you become aware of it, and then you get excited about it, and you get the new imaginings, and you have the dreams about it, and then you come back and you're excited. But it's kind of funny because a lot of people, control freaks and ultra ignorant skeptics and stuff, atheists, it's that's kind of one of the reasons that they would not like you. Stoner means stupid stoner. Yeah, you're just a stupid stoner. You know, or like, you're just a stupid tripped out, burned your brain out on mushrooms. I couldn't believe that guy. Did you hear what he was saying? He was saying he could hear. You know, like when you have the movies, the guy's like, oh, I can see the sunshine. But, you know, a lot of people in their mindset, in their ignorant mindset, when they do anything to keep not believing, because that's what they've decided that they believe. They got their dendrites all grown into that configuration once they were little kids and their brains were putty, and they got brainwashed into thinking that they have to just fit in whatever they already believe to fit. You know, they have to digest what they see out there to fit what they believe. So some guy's like, oh yeah, I had the vision of this and I could telepathically communicate with the squirrel looking at me and we were friends with each other. You know, your little trailer park, closed-minded fundamentalist Christian, whatever, is going to be like, yeah, stupid tripper, haha, he's going to burn out his brain, you fucking stupid stoner, or whatever, you know. So, basically, I think having those, like, angry, judgmental, you know, I'm way smarter than you because I don't believe anything, and since you believe all this stuff, you're a total idiot, ignoramus. If you believe that kind of stuff, you're actually, I think you're blocking, you're just blocking knowledge that just wants to flow into you, you know. Knowledge naturally flows like water flows down a river. It wants to flow into you. You just have to open up the dikes and let it come in. And but if we all opened up the dikes and let it flow freely all over the world, then it would grow exponentially and we'd get huge. We'd built up brains like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, pumped up because we exercise them. Yeah, so, but not just those kinds of like mental things block each other out, but I think, well, like that guy Michael Persinger said, Windows can saturate all electromagnetic frequencies, and like, you know, if you put it between Ingo Swan and a dude who's trying to read his mind, he can't hear. So, like, yeah, if you have computers on all the time and we have TV on and the radio on all the time, I think it, you know, it makes it hard for us to imagine that in the past you read some story of like the tribes and like the tribes of the Australian Aboriginals, how they said stories where they could communicate with each other hundreds of miles away from each other. The tribe down south says that there's a drought coming. We must migrate towards the north before the drought comes. I had a dream last night. And they're all like, oh yes, let's go, you know. I mean, those people, they had completely different languages. Every like 15, 20 miles, they had like hundreds and hundreds of languages in the Australian outback. Well, none of them could communicate with each other through the tongue, but there was no interference patterns from internet and stuff that could get in the way of them, so they could communicate with each other. They look at each other and go, oh look, it's another Aboriginal. They look at each other, yeah, maybe even full-on telepathically communicate, you know. Some guy would look at him and he'd be like, oh, okay, thank you, yeah, he says there's fish down here, and they didn't even say anything, you know. But anyways, yeah, I think we should have a little bit, but if you study history and you study the patterns of like the kind of stuff that people believe, I think we would understand why they believe what they believe more. If we just study, like, you know, in this world where they have this technology available to them, and they had this social structure over here in Europe, you know, with the knights. Well, they had this social structure that was the same in Japan with the samurai. It was because, you know, and then you could imagine it and you can get into it, and then you actually psychically, you know, get into that world and you can actually understand completely. And that's what the fascinating thing about being alive is. It's learning. And I think that's, you know, that's how aliens spend their time. That's what floats an alien's boat. That's what aliens are all about. There's exploring and figuring out what makes stuff tick and people tick and what goes. And so, yeah, so I think, you know, the study of history is something that's in the future. That's something that we're going to really be excited about pretty soon, and studying when we can start to absorb it all and learn it, and get hooked up to the zeitgeist. But But yeah, I think we should definitely, you know, sometimes people say, oh yeah, TV will rot your brain. Yeah, I think we should be careful about that, you know, and kind of realize the power that mass communications can have over our minds. And if we have mass communications all the time with, you know, having to bet those guys are the bad guys and we gotta, you know, kick their asses, and then you get people watching like Fox News, like Crossfire, hey, fuck, you know, interrupting each other, and hey, what, you're wrong. Then it's like this stuff's going through the brain waves, and it's like causing stress, and you know, maybe that's why we're all getting cancer. You know, it's actually something that's caused by the freaking radio waves and stuff. I mean, well, we already know we get cancer through radio waves. Don't hold a cell phone to your head for too long, or you'll get brain cancer. But maybe it's even more subtle than that, you know. And like, don't like let your mind think those negative ideas, you know, and then get angry because, you know, the idea is, the esoteric world is that anger causes cancer. Yeah. Well, you know, if you look at, like, there's this guy called Bruce Lipton. He's a biologist, and he was describing how cells work, and that, you know, cancer is just it's just a potentiality. They're all potentialities, but those potentialities have to get unlocked. But how do they get unlocked? Because all of those, your DNA is inside of the nucleus of your cell, which isn't connected to the outside of your cell. So how does it connect from the nucleus of the cell? How does information connect from the nucleus of a cell that has all these potentials and stuff to the outside of the cell? It's through these little enzymes that fly through, but the enzymes have to be, you know, in a certain shape to lock it in and activate it. But how do you decide which enzyme to send? Those enzymes just come. Those enzymes get formed by the higher field, by your actual mind, by your conscious mind, which isn't physical at all. So yeah, we should definitely, I think, you know, realize the power of positivity. I mean, there's lots, you know, that's like the power of prayer. If you all pray, that's why people pray, you know. And a lot of people don't believe in that, and we can get overly dogmatic about that, as we can get overly excited about and over important about anything, neurotic about stuff. But, you know, every single idea we've ever had has a foundation in truth. And but anyways, back to the positivity. Yeah, I think we should just make our mass media something that supports sharing and supports honesty, and doesn't like attack people just for having another view from you. You just honor their different view, and then you just try to elaborate on it or point out what you disagree and just talk. And it's like fun. It's the funnest thing you could ever do. And it's not something that gets you angry and makes you not want to talk to somebody and then want to start swinging your fists at them and stuff, you know. Every once in a while you can see actual politicians that get in fist fights and stuff. And I have these weird conversations with like Buddhists, third world Buddhists, I'm sure. Third world Buddhists who are always trying to tell me that arguing is bad. Arguing is bad. Arguing doesn't go to any... No, arguing is good. Arguing is fun. Arguing is what the world's made out of, you know. You just have... If you're real and you're honest and you're not hiding anything, it's arguing is the same thing as growing. And if it turns out I'm wrong, it's like, oh, thank you for putting me straight. Okay, cool, I'm different now. It's the only way to grow. So yeah. Anyways, I think we could feel all the world's problems if we just upload everything we think about everything. I should have put my light on in my car before this, but yeah. And then we can just become more and more knowledgeable that way. But yeah, that's what I picked up from that dude, Michael Salinger. I think Persinger. I think I'm going to do a video about that dude Bruce Lipton. I'm going to listen to one of his videos because that's kind of similar, only he's doing it from a biologist standpoint. All right, the light's about to go, so I'm going to turn this video off. You should check it out, though. Michael Persinger, the No More Secrets. If you type that, you can find it on YouTube. Or the God Helmet. But yeah, that's a reason to believe that there is a soul, you know, not that there is a, not that there isn't a soul, just because you can tweak your brain. It just means that our brain is just a mechanism. And even the world itself, it's just a mechanism in which we live in and use and can manipulate because it works for us. Just like our computer works for us. We tell our computer what to do, and our computer does what we tell it to do. Same thing with our brains and our minds and the whole zeitgeist, the whole field of minds and everything. You know, it's all up to us. Okay, peace out.